Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Joey Harris, and we are broadcasting from makeshift studios in the shadow of South Central Virginia. Follow the show on Twitter at Cup of Joe Pod. Email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or your preferred podcast app. I would really appreciate it, and it helps people find the show. Before we start today, I'd just like to send out my condolences to Arn Anderson and his family on the loss of their oldest son. Our condolences are with them at this time. Today we look at Clash of the Champions 18 from WCW. Clash 18 was shown on TBS on January the 21st, 1992 from the Kansas Expo Center in Topeka, Kansas. There were 5,500 in attendance, and the show did a 3.7 rating. Intro of Paulie dangerously assembling the Dangerous Alliance and the Challenge to Sting's team. Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone welcome us to the Clash. They run down some of what we're going to see before throwing it to Eric Bischoff and Missy Hyatt. They welcome us before throwing it to Gary Michael Capetta to announce the first match. Big Van Vader and Mr. Hughes with Harley Race versus the Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott. This should be a hard-hitting match. The Steiners are extremely popular with the crowd. Vader and Scott start, but as the bell rings, Mr. Hughes tags in. Scott with a single leg pickup, a wrist lock, and a takeover, and the crowd is into it. Hughes goes over to Race for some advice. Another lockup and Hughes with a big right hand. Hughes dominating. He gets a side headlock. Scott pushes off, and Hughes comes back with a shoulder block. Scott with a leapfrog, and hits Hughes with an overhead belly-to-belly suplex. Hughes goes outside to regroup before locking up with Scott again. Heels double-teaming Scott in the corner, bringing Rick in. Hughes throws Rick outside. Vader throws Scott outside as well. The Steiners climb up to the top rope, and Steiner line both heels as they turn around. The crowd loved that move. Vader and Rick now in, and Rick gets a side headlock. Vader just picks Rick up and hits a belly-to-back suplex. Vader takes over on Rick. He gets Rick up in a military press and slams him. He then corner whips and splashes Rick. Vader with another corner whip, and Rick comes back with a Steiner line and an overhead belly-to-belly suplex. Another Steiner line sends Vader to the floor. Rick jumps out onto Vader, who catches Rick and slams him into the ring post. Vader throws Rick back into the ring and Irish whips him. Rick ducks a clothesline attempt, but Vader catches him with another one. Vader goes up top, but gets caught by Rick, who hits a belly-to-belly suplex to Vader from the top rope. Scott tagged in. Steiner lined to Vader and covered to get a 2 count. Scott goes for a belly-to-back suplex. Vader fighting it, and as he gets close to the ropes, Rick hits him with some right hands. Scott hits the suplex. He goes up top for a crossbody, and Vader catches him and power slams him. Vader with an Irish whip and a clothesline attempt that Scott ducks. Scott with a sunset flip attempt. Vader comes crashing down on his chest. Hughes tagged in. He power slams Scott for the 2 count. Hughes hits a clothesline but misses a corner splash. Rick tagged in. He hip tosses Hughes and then hits Hughes with a backdrop. Now all 4 men in the ring. Rick thrown to the outside. Hughes holds Scott for Vader, but Scott ducks and Vader clotheslines Hughes. Scott and Vader fight to the outside as Rick climbs up top and hits the Bulldog to get the pin. Tracy Smothers and the Tailor-Made Man versus Brian Pillman and Marcus Alexander Bagwell. Pillman and Taylor start. Taylor with an early advantage. He slaps Pillman and chops him in the corner. Pillman comes back. Taylor feeding both faces to punch him. Taylor comes back with a backbreaker to Pillman and gets a 2 count. Heels in control, and they have the most experience in this match. Pillman with a head scissors to Taylor. He gets a 2 count, and Bagwell tagged in. He cleans house. All faces with a series of moves on the heels, and the crowd is excited. The faces hit twin dives over the top to the heels on the floor. Smothers in and drop kicks Bagwell. Smothers with a back elbow. There's a good ebb and flow to this match. A 2 count for Smothers after the clothesline. Taylor in to continue to punish Bagwell. The heels know that Bagwell is the weak link and cut the ring in half to punish him. Bagwell gets his knees up on a splash attempt by Smothers. Pillman tagged in. Taylor breaks up a Pillman pin attempt after a spinning heel kick. Double team to Pillman brings Bagwell in. Taylor suplexes Pillman from the ring to the floor. Smothers follows that up by running Pillman into the barricade and the corner post. Smothers throws Pillman back in and covers him, but only gets a 2 count as the fans try to get behind Pillman. Taylor tagged in and hits Pillman with a gut-wrench suplex for a 2 count. Taylor beating Pillman down in the corner. Smothers tagged in. He gets Pillman on the apron and hits a back elbow to knock Pillman to the guardrail. Smothers distracted by Bagwell, allowing Pillman to hit a clothesline from the top rope. Bagwell tagged in and cleaning house. All 4 men in now. Pillman thrown out. Double team on Bagwell. Bagwell gets a sunset flip on Smothers to get the pin. A feature on Jushin Liger. Richard Morton versus Johnny B. Bad. Bad comes out shooting confetti off the walkway. They show a child in the audience with a bow in her hair and a bow around her neck screaming Johnny B. Bad and waving a dollar bill in the air. And I don't mind telling you, folks, I don't like the implication. Yet Jim Ross says she wants to put $1 in Bad's garter, and then she drops her dollar. There's something there, folks. That's just a signifier of something. Bad news, probably. The bell rings and they circle each other, and Bad takes a swipe at Morton. Lock up and a side headlock by Bad. Morton pushes him down. Another lock up and push off, exchanging holds in the middle of the ring. Bad up, throwing punches, and Morton gets to the ropes. Morton gets a shot on Bad, but Bad runs Morton into a corner. Double axe handle off the second turnbuckle by Bad. Back and forth. Bad thrown outside, but lands on his feet and rolls Morton up for a 2 count. Morton with a clothesline and an inverted atomic drop. He throws Bad out and runs him into the corner post. Bad comes back with a sunset flip for a 2 count. They exchange 2 counts then. Morton hits Bad with a crossbody, but Bad rolls through to get the pin. Eric Bischoff interviews Brian Pillman and Johnny B. Bad about Jushin Liger. Pillman cuts a heelish promo against the Japanese people as Bad puts his kiss sticker on Bischoff. He then puts it on Pillman and Pillman punches Bad. Diamond Dallas Page versus PN News. News raps before the match. Page attacks him, and I thank DDP for that. They do a crisscross spot. News hits a butt bump and drop kicks Page to the outside. Back in, News hits a corner splash and then hits a couple of body rolls to Page. He misses an elbow drop. News reverses a corner whip, but misses another corner splash. Page with a clothesline for a 2 count. He hits a side Russian leg sweep on News for another 2 count. He tries to lift News up, but News falls on him for a 2 count. News guillotined on the top rope by Page. He follows that up with a crossbody for a near fall. News reverses a corner whip and hits a belly-to-belly suplex. News with the Rat Master Splash to get the pin. We then go to the WCW Top 10. Number 10, Larry Zbyszko. Number 9, Elegante. Number 8, Big Van Vader. Number 7, Dustin Rhodes. Number 6, Cactus Jack. Number 5, Rick Steiner. Number 4, Ricky Steamboat. Number 3, Steve Austin. Number 2, Sting. Number 1, Rick Rude. And the WCW World Heavyweight Champion is Lex Luger. Tony Schiavone interviews new WCW Executive Vice President Kip Frey. Jim Crockett Jr. is also one of the people standing out there, and at this point, he has to be thinking, why did I buy that second jet? Frey announces Lex Luger will defend his title at Super Brawl 2. He then announces Jesse Ventura will be the announcer for Super Brawl 2. Jesse then comes out. He gets a great ovation. He is wearing his Jesse do-rag from SummerSlam 89. I think he also had it at WrestleMania 5. He says he's pumped up because WCW is the wrestling of the future. He says he's back to tell it like it is. They then announce that Lex Luger will defend his title against Sting. Sting comes out and high-fives Jesse. They show a Luger interview where he talks about his seclusion, which is actually they had used up his dates on his contract, and he was waiting it out. Falls Count Anywhere match. Cactus Jack versus Van Hammer. Cactus Jack comes out to meet Hammer only for Hammer to shoot something from his guitar into the face of Cactus Jack. Finally, Van Hammer finds something to do with that guitar. Hammer then hits a crossbody to Cactus Jack over the top rope as the bell rings. He gets a 2 count. Hammer with a corner whip and a clothesline. He then hits a bulldog and a leg drop for a 2 count. Hammer goes up to the second rope, only to get hit with a clothesline as he comes off. He gets a 2 count. Cactus Jack hits his patented clothesline over the top rope. He gets a 2 count on the floor. Hammer thrown into the barricade, and then Jack takes the ringside mats up. Hammer runs face first into the concrete. Cactus Jack then hits a sloppy-looking sunset flip to Hammer, but does get him down. Hammer runs Cactus Jack into the barricade. Then Hammer power slams Cactus Jack on the ramp. He gets a 2 count. Cactus Jack with the front face lock, but Hammer gets an inside cradle for a 2 count. Cactus Jack comes back with a clothesline. Hammer hip tosses Cactus Jack off the ramp to the concrete. Hammer then clotheslines Cactus Jack off the ramp back to the concrete after he climbs up again. He gets a 2 count. They battle on the concrete to the backstage area. When they come back from the commercial break, they are fighting in the parking lot, and Cactus Jack hits Hammer with a section of a traffic horse. He throws a traffic cone at Hammer as they start to fight towards the bullpen where they're going to have a rodeo. Missy Hyatt is out there to help cover the match. Hammer choking Cactus Jack with a piece of rope. They fight over the rails into the holding pen. Suddenly Hammer is attacked by a big cowboy who is Abdullah the Butcher. They fight out to the arena area, and Abdullah hits Hammer with a shovel. Cactus Jack gets the pin. Abdullah and Cactus Jack start to fight each other. Abdullah sticks Cactus Jack's head into the watering trough. Abdullah then picks Missy up and throws her into the water. Cactus Jack and Abdullah then continue to fight. The Freebirds Michael Hayes and Jimmy Garvin versus Brad Armstrong and Big Josh. The match is underway as they come back from commercial. Armstrong and Hayes start. Hayes with a side headlock. Armstrong pushes off. Armstrong with a hip toss. Hayes kicks off and goes back to the side headlock. Armstrong pushes off again. Hayes with an up and over. He rolls up Armstrong for a 2 count, and Garvin tagged in. Garvin with a clothesline, and Armstrong misses a clothesline of his own, and Garvin hits a running forearm. Garvin hits a crossbody and gets a 2 count. Garvin with an Irish whip. Josh tagged in, and Armstrong drop kicks Garvin. Josh with a running power slam, and then does his log rolling routine on Garvin. Josh pushes off from a side headlock, and Garvin tags Hayes back in. Josh ducks a clothesline and slams Hayes, and then does a log roll on Hayes. Josh kicks out of a sunset flip. He gets an arm drag. Garvin tagged back in. Josh with corner mounted punches. Garvin with a corner whip, and they collide in the ring. Hayes and Armstrong both tagged in. Armstrong with a backdrop and then a drop kick for both Freebirds. Freebirds double team Armstrong and throw him to the ramp only to get double clotheslined by Josh. The referee gets Josh out, allowing the Freebirds to get the double DDT on Armstrong and pin him. A feature on the Steiner brothers. Eric Bischoff then interviews the Steiners. They say they are ready to reclaim the titles that they never lost. Thomas Rich versus Vinny Vegas. Welcome Kevin Nash's latest persona. Vegas goes Rich and then attacks him. He slams Rich head first into the mat. He then clotheslines Rich. He picks Rich up and hits Snake Eyes and pins Rich. Eric Bischoff talks to Paulie dangerously. Paulie says every single prediction he has made since he returned has come true, and one of WCW's top 5 heroes will go down tonight. He says one of them will wind up in the Magnum TA Wrestling Retirement Home. Damn, Paulie has no chill. 6-man tag, Bobby Eaton, Arn Anderson, and Larry Zbyszko with Paulie dangerously versus Dustin Rhodes, Barry Windham, and Ron Simmons. Eaton and Anderson are the newly crowned tag team champions. Windham gets in and immediately goes after the heels, causing them to bail out to the floor. Paulie screams at the referee to check Windham's hand to make sure the cast is properly covered up. Windham and Eaton start. Eaton tries to attack Windham as soon as the bell rings, but Windham kicks Eaton in the stomach. Windham with an Irish whip, but Eaton comes back with a neck breaker. Eaton gets Windham up and hits a superplex. Windham gets up immediately and hits a lariat to Eaton. He then hits another one. Windham then hits a superplex on Eaton. He gets a 2 count, and now all 6 men in, and the faces all put figure 4s on the heels. The heels break free. Zbyszko in with Simmons. Zbyszko with an overhead wrist lock to try to force Simmons to the mat. Simmons fighting back. Rhodes tries to come in and gets stopped by the referee as Anderson comes in to help Zbyszko, but Simmons is too powerful. He flips out of their grips and flips them both over. Rhodes and Windham then hit them both with elbows, and Simmons hits them with the double shoulder block. Eaton tries to jump on Simmons from the top rope, but gets caught in a bear hug. Heels triple team Simmons while the referee is dealing with the faces wanting to come in and help Simmons. Simmons takes out Eaton with a clothesline. Anderson ducks the same clothesline attempt, only to get power slammed by Simmons, who then gets Zbyszko with a clothesline when he comes in. Zbyszko covered, but his foot was under the ropes. Simmons tags Rhodes in and holds Zbyszko for Rhodes to kick in the arm. Eaton tagged in. Eaton rakes the eyes. Eaton takes Rhodes down in the corner, but Rhodes comes back with a right hand and throws Eaton out onto the ramp. Rhodes then hits a lariat to Eaton from the ring to the ramp. Eaton then thrown back into the ring and Zbyszko and Wyndham both tagged in. A Barry chant goes out as Wyndham attacks Zbyszko. Wyndham goes for a lariat, but Zbyszko holds on to the ropes. Zbyszko goes for a pile driver, but Wyndham reverses it into a backdrop. Zbyszko rolls to the outside. Eaton goes up top, but Wyndham hits a drop kick to knock him off. Wyndham then runs Anderson face first into the mat. Zbyszko comes back in, but doesn't see Wyndham tag Rhodes in, and Rhodes hits Zbyszko with a series of right hands. Rhodes goes for a lariat, but Eaton punches Zbyszko out of the way, and Rhodes goes flying out over the top rope to the ramp. Anderson distracts the referee while Eaton holds Rhodes on the ramp for Paulie to hit with the telephone. He does, and Wyndham goes out to the ramp after Eaton and Paulie, and the referee comes out trying to get them back in. Meanwhile, Zbyszko grabs Rhodes back in the ring and hits a swinging neck breaker. He then runs Rhodes into Anderson's boot. Anderson tagged in. Rhodes ducks a clothesline attempt, but Anderson catches him with a spine buster. He gets a close 2 count. Anderson with a snapmare and goes for a splash from the second rope, but Rhodes gets his knees up. Rhodes goes for a scoop slam, but Anderson slips behind and hits Rhodes with a brutal-looking DDT. He gets another close 2 count. Anderson drags Rhodes towards the heel's corner and tags Eaton in. Eaton with a scoop slam. He goes up top and hits a flying elbow to Rhodes. He gets another close 2 count. Back and forth in the center of the ring. Eaton with a corner whip, but Rhodes moves on the charge. Anderson tagged in. He gets Rhodes down and goes to the second rope for an axe handle, but Rhodes gets his boot up. Eaton and Wyndham tagged in. Wyndham catches Eaton with the top rope lariat. He then hits Eaton with another lariat and a backdrop. He gets a close 2 count. Zbyszko in. Wyndham Irish whips him, but as Wyndham goes for the lariat, Anderson gets a knee to Wyndham's back. All 6 in and Eaton gets up top, but Wyndham catches him with the right hand as it comes off and pins Eaton. Tony Schiavone interviews Barry Windham, Dustin Rhodes, and Ron Simmons in the locker room. Windham says he has a list of names to go after, and Larry Zbyszko is number 1. Back at ringside, Jesse Ventura joins Jim Ross for commentary on the last match. They preview the main event. Sting and Ricky Steamboat versus Steve Austin and Rick Rude with Paulie Dangerously. Rude does his pre-match spiel. Rude is the U.S. champion and Austin is the TV champion. Ventura says Rude and Austin remind him of himself. Jesse has been a Rude fan for a long time. Sting and Steamboat get a great reaction when they come out. Austin and Steamboat start. They lock up and go to a corner. Back and forth up against the rope. They break and circle each other again. Austin pushes off, and Steamboat comes back with a shoulder block. Austin gets Steamboat in the corner and hits a right hand. Back and forth in the corner, and Steamboat with some chops to get out of the corner. Austin backs up to the opposite corner. They circle each other again. Steamboat with a side headlock. Austin pushes off. Steamboat comes back and hooks Austin's arms for a backslide. He gets a 2 count. Steamboat then grabs the legs and rolls up for another 2 count. Steamboat then with an inside cradle for another 2 count. Austin with an Irish whip. Steamboat with a karate kick to Austin and then one to Rude when he comes in. The heels go out to the floor to regroup. Back in, Austin gets a side headlock and Rude tagged in. Rude comes over and says he wants Sting and then slaps Sting, but you don't see it because WCW. Sting tagged in and Rude immediately backs off. Rude out and he attacks Sting with some hard right and left hands. Back and forth in the center of the ring and Sting gets an atomic drop. He then hits an inverted atomic drop and Rude doing his usual sell job on those. Austin comes in and Sting hits him with a right hand to knock him back to the outside. Sting rakes Rude's back and then hits a double axe handle to the back. Sting with a corner whip and goes for a gut-wrench suplex. Rude blocks it so Sting just drops him stomach first onto the mat. Sting gets a single leg pickup and gets a modified camel clutch. Rude tries to get up, so Sting slams his body down to drive Rude back down to the mat and then mocks Rude's moves by gyrating. Paulie gets up on the apron and Nick Patrick goes over to get him down. Sting and Steamboat use this opportunity to change places to the crowd's delight and the heel's chagrin. Patrick questions them and they claim they tag. Jesse is irate over this and Jesse is correct. Patrick should not have allowed the tag if he didn't see it. Steamboat is now mocking Rude, bringing Austin in only to get cut off by Patrick, which allows Sting and Steamboat to switch places again, but at least this time the right man is back in the ring. Sting jumps up to knock Rude back down again, but Rude is able to turn over and get his knees up as Sting comes down. Rude puts a knee into Sting's midsection, tags Austin in, and holds Sting for Austin to hit. Austin runs Sting into a turnbuckle as the crowd starts a Sting chant. Sting blocks a second attempt and runs Austin into the turnbuckle. Austin with a knee to the midsection, an Irish whip and a back elbow to Sting. He gets a 2 count. Rude tagged in and Austin holds Sting for Rude to hit as the Sting chant goes out again. Rude with a front face lock. Sting trying to move towards his corner to tag Steamboat in. Austin distracts Patrick, so Rude knocks Steamboat down on the apron and then knocks Sting down. He gets a 2 count. Rude runs Sting into Austin's boot and Austin tagged in. Austin with the belly-to-bat suplex, Austin with an Irish whip, and Sting comes back with a sunset flip. Austin fighting not to go over. He goes to punch Sting, but Sting moves. Steamboat tagged in, and he cleans house, hitting both heels when he comes in. He then runs their heads together. Steamboat with a shoulder block and then gets a 2 count on Austin. Rude comes over and Steamboat hits him with a thrust kick. Steamboat with an Irish whip and a karate thrust to Austin. Paulie up on the apron and Sting comes in to go after him. Patrick gets Sting out. Meanwhile, Steamboat gets a victory roll, but there's no referee to count, so Rude hits Steamboat from behind with a forearm. Austin then with an elbow to the neck and an Irish whip to Steamboat. He hits the back elbow and then runs Steamboat into Rude's knee. Rude tagged in. He scoop slams Steamboat. Austin then tagged back in and Steamboat trying to come back with chops. Austin reverses an Irish whip. Steamboat comes back with the go behind and goes to roll Austin up, but Austin holds on to the ropes. Steamboat with an inside cradle for a 2 count, and now all 4 men in the ring. Rude throws Sting out to the ramp as Austin hits a backbreaker to Steamboat. Sting gets Austin out of the ring and they battle on the ramp until Austin throws Sting off the ramp. Rude hitting Steamboat until Austin gets back in the ring, and then Austin hits Steamboat with a backbreaker. Austin picks Steamboat up for another backbreaker, but Sting comes off the top rope with a crossbody, and both Sting and Steamboat pin Austin. Jesse is livid that Patrick countered the pin. All 4 brawl after the match. Rude with a rude awakening to Steamboat. Sting goes for the Stinger Splash on Austin, but Austin moves. Rude hits another rude awakening. Rude then whips Steamboat with Paulie's belt. Security trying to stop it, but the heels keep them away. Jesse and Jim Ross talk about what just happened and then talk about Super Brawl 2 before signing off from Kansas. Final thoughts. This was an enjoyable little show. It was good to see and hear Jesse again, as this show was used to set up Super Brawl 2. WCW was trying something new. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TheJoeyHarris. You can support the show at paypal.me/cupofjoepod. Thank you for joining me this week. This is Joey saying so long from the heart of Virginia.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.